Oh, it's a whole section of the internet that is not indexed.
How do we get to it?
Usually you use like a Tor browser, which is a browser that's very much like the old version of Netscape. It feels like sort of the internet in the 1990s.
Really? And why
Yeah.
do people use it? Is it always for evil period?
Not at all. Actually, it was originally designed so that you could have sort of private communication between yourself and people in other countries, and it was meant to be just an anonymous way to communicate.
And how did it get the nickname Dark Web?
Sounds sexy.
Oh, okay. Oh, so the intent wasn't to create a platform for bad guys.
Not at all. It was. I believe it was originally created by the American military so that they could have communication that was completely private and anonymous.
Oh, okay.
So does that fall over into the private sector now?
It really has. I mean, a lot of people found out about it and they started using it for the things like the internet used to be used for, like distributing drugs, guns, whatever you want.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so now we had earlier on the show, and coincidentally, we had a gentleman talking to us about cybercrime, and it seems like whenever I hear somebody talk about cybercrime, the name dark web comes up along with that. That, to me, says the dark web is something I would stay away from. It just says I would a bad neighborhood.
It does have that component to it, and certainly there's a lot of good things that happen on the dark web. It's basically just an unindexed version of the internet, so it's very hard to navigate. It's very hard to get around. But to be honest, nowadays, I mean, it has been taken over by marketplaces that will sell you anything you want.
And is that interfaced with the social media platforms?
It does to a certain degree, absolutely. I mean, the marketplaces do move and they do change, and it's very much ranked as you would expect from any modern application. So if you've got 5 stars and I've got 5 stars, chances are I'm going to have a good transaction with you on the dark web.
So what do you do? What does Echosec do? You help us, and do you help individuals or just businesses? Do you help us detect, like, somebody's trying to do, what do you call it, ransomware? Somebody's trying to get some money out of me?
Yeah, I mean, what we do is actually look around for our corporate clients. We have more corporate clients than anything else, and it's for executive protection, asset protection, brand protection, emergency response, that kind of thing.
But now
security teams.
But how do you know if there's if things that are going on the web is criminal activity or non-criminal activity? Take guns, for example. Regular honest people can sell guns, but then so can criminals.
Absolutely, and I would agree that most of them probably, the honest people wouldn't be selling them through the dark web.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, why would you do that?
Just going to throw that one out there.
All right. So can I ask you about your past? Because two of the businesses that are in your resume are transportation companies, Mercedes-Benz and Amtrak. Could the dark web or some of the data threats that we hear about, could they interfere with that? Could they stop a train or cause a train to crash or cause one of those autonomous vehicles to do something that'll hurt people?
Well, those were a long time ago in my history. I mean, we do work for a lot of different clients right now. I'm not sure that they're on the list, but certainly you want to be aware. I mean, the only thing that companies have nowadays is trust. And the problem is that even if it's their consultants or it's, those people have, they have your email address that's out there on the dark web, you need to have the trust with your clients.
How do you
so they need to know what's out there.
So how do you manage to get that trust?
It's more thing of where you're protecting. It's kind of like antivirus, I guess, for your corporate clients. You need to let them know that you have your name and password out there, or like a number of my clients. I mean, I've found what's a good example here? I've found for banks complete lists of Photoshop files of all of their corporate templates.
And now, how do you trust the people when a regular person or a business signs up for the computer protection and everything, and if they have an issue, that sometimes the solution is done remotely, so they take over your computer and you can see the cursor moving?
Yeah, that's there's certainly that out there as well. I mean, you can hire a hacker. At Echosec, we see that kind of thing all the time, where people actually go out there and will hire hire experts in computer hacking to take over people's machines and so on. The best, and in this case, the best offense is a good defense.
So I went to your website, Echosec.
Echosec.net.
Okay. I went there, and it talks about a couple of different bullet points of what you do. One of them is brand protection. In what regard? How would you protect the brand? Is it from somebody, I guess, talking bad about you, about the brand?
Well, what happens mostly is counterfeit. It's a lot of just because you own the brand here doesn't mean you own it around the world. And unfortunately, there's so many people putting things out that is not truly a Nike, or is not truly, whatever brand that you're interested in, Bose headphones or watches or whatever you want to find. It's out there.
So maybe for us to understand better what we're talking about can you give us an example?
Certainly. I mean, there are a ton of, for example, Apple products that are out there, or actually, best thing would be gift cards. I mean, it's unbelievable how many gift cards and credit cards exist out on the dark web that you can just buy for a tenth of the price. I mean, if you want a Walmart gift card, it's an easy thing for us to find out there right now. And there's about 25. You always hear about these marketplaces. And there's about 25 of them that are constantly active, even though one gets shut down, like Silk Road or something along those lines. But there's always one coming up. There's always another one that's really, really interesting. In fact, there's probably far, far more than that. It's just those are the ones that I watch on a regular basis.
So are you saying that let's say I pay $10 for a Walmart card, it'll be worth $100?
Oh, yeah.
So does Walmart not have a system in place to detect a counterfeit gift card?
I'm sure they do. But to be honest with you, it's so easy to make a credit card nowadays. Like you can order carding equipment online and create your own credit cards. It's an unbelievable business. And
you could protect you could protect the business from somebody using a false one. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. And how?
That's what we spend a lot of time on. Loss prevention is a big part of what we do.
Okay, so let's say I use Walmart again as an example. Let's say I go there with my counterfeit card, and I swipe it through the machine. Do you, if you're hooked up with them, do you get an alert saying, "Oh, Larry's trying to steal money from Walmart"?
Really what we do is a lot of data discovery. So we're basically a search engine for the dark web. And that's the way that we act, is we generally are just out there. And if you find it, then you can protect yourself against it. And that's largely what we do.
Oh, I see. Okay. So if I were to look up this radio station, for example, I could find it on the dark web, and you could get it off of the dark web?
I could find it on the dark web and tell you that it's there.
Ah.
And then we have to be wary of that.
You want to look right now? See if we're there? I mean, how long does it take?
Out there on you guys.
Can you also make predictions as to what kind of companies are going to be cyber attacked, and then you can put something in place that will take care of it?
Yes. What we end up actually doing is, there are these large data breaches. And you see them all the time, like 2 million names get put online or 5 million names get put online. And that's what we're really good at, is we find these people's names and emails and so on. And let the company know that your name has been in a breach.
So, like, what was that one with the people cheating on their wives? What was that one called?
Oh, my gosh, I forget.
Remember that was in the Melody Baker or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's a woman's name.
What was it? Ashley Madison.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Right. So I mean,
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
see if my name was on there.
You can, yes. Yeah,
Is it?
because hackers are trying to. I mean, these people are trying to make money, so they put them up for sale, and all those names and emails and so on are all for sale out there someplace.
Wow.
So it's a matter of tracking that down.
When someone's .com or .net or .org account lapses, there are other companies out there that buy them up, and then they hold that name for ransom. Is that part of it?
That certainly could be a part of it. Yeah. That's we see that all the time. I mean, what we're seeing right now is like, imagine Amazon in these marketplaces, but for everything that you can't buy in normal everyday life. I mean, in a lot of cases, I'm working for corporate clients. Somebody steals a pallet of deodorant, you got to sell it someplace.
Mm-hmm.
And even in your own, even where you live now, you rarely see things like drug dealers on the street anymore.
So
they're all on the dark web.
Okay, so this reminds me of something, and so I have a question. I'm going to tell you what it reminds me of, and then here's the question. What it reminds me of is years ago when the VCRs first came out. A lady came up to me and she said, "Hey, I got a VCR. You want to buy it?" I said, "No, I can't afford that." And she said, No, it's only $100. And I think back then they were like $1,200.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "How can you sell it for so cheap?" "Oh, it fell off the truck." And I said, "Fell off the truck." I've heard that before. Okay, so I knew that if I had purchased it, then I would be as much in trouble once the police found it as she would have been, or whoever it is she got it from, or everybody in between, right?
Yeah.
So am I still in trouble if I get something from the dark web? Let's say I want to buy a new bicycle on the dark web, and it's stolen. Do the police come after me and say you have received stolen property?
I would wholly hope so.
Yeah, I would too. I would too. So,
I think in a lot of cases, unfortunately, though, the police are just so overwhelmed with new technology and happy to see drug dealers off the street, even though that they're doing their business through these types of transactions, that they just don't have the opportunity to go after these people. I mean, you hear about it every once in a while. Usually it's like Danish or, Swedish police that are doing these big drug busts on the dark web, and sometimes it's the FBI. But it's hard. It's very, very hard to track down. And you can imagine if I order something, it's going to come from a FedEx package with no name on it, Do
keywords play a huge role in the dark web as to trying to squelch the bad guys?
Keywords?
Yes.
Less so. I mean, a lot of it is based on marketplaces now. At least a lot of the work that we do is based on marketplaces. So again, I mean, it's very much like Amazon, but you can order any sort of drug, any sort of anything.
So
that's horrible.
I mean, you hear about people buying hitmen.
Yeah, we had that story last week.
So would your clientele include law enforcement agencies?
Yes, it would, in a lot of circumstances, because we are basically like Google for the dark web.
Mm-hmm. You did.
So,
You did speak on how to use social media effectively in homeland security applications. How did you do your research on that to do a presentation?
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, if you go to our website, I mean, there's a couple images there that are fascinating because my background's actually in geographic information systems, so I made maps for years, and I hated making maps. It was just one of those things where I shouldn't say I hated it. I didn't like the data, so we started mapping like live data, like Twitter, the Flickr, Insta, whatever, back in the day. All these different types of social media. And one of the things that we noticed is if you go over an area like the Pentagon or, your local military base, wherever it happens to be, you would see all of these guys that were actively posting where everything was. I mean, do you guys remember when Foursquare was a thing and you used to compete to be a mayor of virtual mayor of a location?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, and they would post all the time about, here I am in Afghanistan and this is my ammunition dump, or this is this is where we park our tank. It was amazing how much information was coming out of those sources just a couple of years ago, and it wasn't even, things have gotten considerably better over the years, but it was absolutely incredible how much information I could put on a map from these social areas.
Wow. So I went to your web and I found Beacon. Is Beacon the actual search engine?
Beacon's a search engine for the dark web. Echosec itself, the platform, I believe it's on the front page, and you can actually just see a little picture of it with all of the, with a map where we've drawn a circle and all of the social posts are coming out from that area. And we've got about 1 billion social posts every day, and about 80 million of those are publicly available and geotagged. Mm-hmm. So we were able to actually put it on a map. And I can talk nerdy to you all day.
How do you know the people that come to you are legitimate? What kind of background check do you do on them?
Yeah, we do a full, they have to go through a full process for us and for our data providers. And in a lot of cases, we offer different data for different types of people, depending on their use case. So some of the data providers for us are they don't want to be used for investigative purposes, for instance, but they're okay with being used by journalists. So we'll offer them that data set. But we have to make sure they're properly vetted.
And what is a Tor browser?
A Tor browser? It's that is, again, on the dark web side. It's a browser, and it's originally called the Onion Web or the Onion Router, because the way that you look at the dark web is as a series of, as an onion where it's got multiple layers to it, and the Tor browser actually puts you off to different. How to describe this, into different servers, and you become more anonymous as you step through these different servers. So it's not a direct connection like I would do with your website. I wouldn't, directly connect to your website through my browser. What ends up happening actually on the dark web is you go through a number of steps and you become more anonymous as you go through these steps. So it makes it very slow, and it really does feel like the internet sort of in the 90s.
Oh, I gotta find that.
Okay, so if I went to the site and I wanted to search the dark web, I do it with somebody helping me, or do I do it on my own? I would be afraid I would fall into the wrong place. Like it says, you click here for a Beacon, and it looks like I might be able to do that. No.
You can't get through to our Beacon site without actually having a conversation with me.
Okay.
Wow.
But if you want to find personal information, breach data, discussion boards, marketplaces, anything personally identifiable, we're the tool that you use to find that kind of stuff. We're certainly just the search engine that's used by companies to go out there and find that information.
So when you have a story, we have them now and then of human trafficking, the young girls that are being sold as prostitutes, is that business? I hate to call it a business, but is business conducted through the dark web? Is that how that happens?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
There's a lot of absolutely horrifying things that happen on the dark web.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the police need to be looking at this.
Yeah.
So our local our local police needs to know how to do this so they can, be up with the rest of the world. Sounds like.
Yeah, and we are certainly out there trying to make sure that they have access to it and they know how to use these kind of tools to be the most effective.
Okay, so let's give them the information they need. I'm guessing this is something I don't need as a personal individual. But I'm guessing that there are some people who need this. So give us, is it just echosec.net?
It's just echosec.net, yeah.
Okay, and then from there we can click on things and learn a little bit more and then get on to whatever we need it for, right?
Yeah, and I've got an absolutely incredible marketing team that has a great blog out there. And if you need to find out any information, whether you use the tool or not, certainly hit the blog and certainly have a good read through of all the information that they have. I don't do it justice.
Okay. Well, fascinating stuff, and I'll be honest with you, it's considerably over my head. But I'm glad there are people like you who are handling this, because I think it keeps the world a little safer for the rest of us. Karl Swannie, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. We'll be right back.
You too.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. The president this morning keeping up attacks on the Federal Reserve for not cutting interest rates, tweeting the Fed blew it. President Trump, meanwhile, getting attacked by a leading Democrat vying for the White House, former Vice President Joe Biden.
In an op-ed in the Miami Herald, he takes issue with the border wall, calls on Congress to recognize Dreamers as Americans.
Fox's Blake Berman says he weighed in on the president's threats to carry out massive raids and deportations, calling them
more evidence that President Trump's morally bankrupt re-election strategy relies on vilifying immigrants to score political points while implementing policies that ensure asylum seekers and refugees keep arriving at our border.
And a sheriff in South Texas saying Border Patrol agents have discovered 4 bodies, 3 of them children, in a wildlife management area near the border. This is Fox News.
With the Discover It Miles card, you can go further than you've ever gone before. Like sun on your face, book in your hand, kids playing in the sand further. Because the Discover It Miles card offers unlimited 1.5 miles on every purchase and will automatically match all the miles you earn at the end of your first year. So that means your 35,000 miles could become 70,000. It's just that easy. So get out there with your Discover It Miles